Okay, we're back and we're building forms like we were before. So we left off with a form library, building out a form library with multiple different types of components, text fields. We integrated for selects an external multi-select library, which you could use as single select as well. It has tags alongside, autocomplete search, which is pretty cool. And then checkboxes, toggles, arrays within forms. You can add multiple companies here. Validation, so that if we submit, we get errors. This, just let me remove this. This cool thing happening where on submission, the button will have a spinner, different types of buttons as we did them. And then in terms of what I wanted to do, I wanted to add some more components. Do server-side validation because I think it's really important that even if you have no client-side validation, that the server-side coming through should still be really great. You should be able to see all your errors, even if your client-side isn't validating. Making the library exportable because I do want to start using this in some of my other projects, maybe some of them over here. Playing with Storybook, just because we have different types of, buttons, for example. I want to be able to showcase and document some of this stuff, even if just for myself. And then refactoring, right? I put that down here because I was like, ugh, I don't want to get into too much refactoring right now. I just want to build. And the problem with that is if I don't refactor in a certain sweet spot zone, I'm putting more work on the plate for myself to do later. And as I started noticing some of the components that we have, so input, for example, has fab field and then defines field within, and then checkbox, whatever you look at follows the same pattern where we define fab field and then we got to define field within. And then there's also some duplication here, name. We're repeating some of these parameters over and over. And so I figured maybe this is a good time to look at refactoring. It might mess things up and derail the direction, but if I have to stop and change course, I can just, flush away the changes and then move on. But I think this is probably a good time to revisit refactoring. Okay, let's see what we can do, and maybe just even looking at fab input, which is just your this input. I suppose you could have variations in that input, although I haven't really played around with that too much. If I go to app.view where we're using these and maybe do something like type equals date, yeah, so I think it works fine with some of these other types. I haven't tried everything, but even here I think we could style this a little bit better based on the type, but not horrendous, not terrible, not great. This is definitely not great, actually. Probably the padding here is too much for a field like this, but we'll figure that out. Okay, revert it back to regular. That's pretty cool. It retained the color. Okay. So coming back here, I want to remove some of this repetition. So I'm thinking something like this. So let me just leave some room here. Maybe I might move some of these things. Something like a placeholder would now go up here. ID is based on name, and I'm already passing in name, so I don't need to do these. The type I would have to place up here. I don't want to pass these in over and over. I think by default, I want these to be false on every single field type. So like these would just go away. Classes I'd have to bring up here. And because this is the parent or the top level field here, I could probably just get rid of this and not have to do that. And then maybe the template would look something like this instead of what it looked like before. And that's a lot nicer instead of having these multiple levels over and over, I think. Obviously, I've lost these as a result of this change, but let me see if I can manage this. Still going pretty slow here because I'm not sure that this will work out well. So let me just do a diff here so that I have visible what I removed, which is, some of the stuff here. And I have an idea of what I need to put on the field once I move it into Fab Field. And let's go ahead into Fab Field and change this up. So we expect the rest of these to break, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, there's no real reason why the whole thing can't be a Fab Field. So I might have to try a few things here before I get it right. So the first thing I'm thinking is, let's pull in the field wholesale and make it a top level component, the top level tag, and see what happens. It doesn't like this for some reason. It's because I closed the field here. I don't want to do that. And everything in here becomes the field. I'm not too sure this will be good, but let's see. So the field is, it does get name. So these are good. The type, I'll get through adders. And am I using adders anywhere here? I am just here, which means I don't need to do this. And I might have to do this if I start modifying things, but let's see. Let's get rid of this. So type will come in, placeholder will come in. These I want. And then class I don't want. And so this would look like this. If I save, I expect, well, I expected these to work. Maybe I need to refresh. Well, something massively odd has happened here. Okay. Okay, I might need to have like an as. That's not it. Let me just see if there aren't any errors. I actually need to import field. That makes sense. So let's do that. And now I don't get anything. Not that I don't get anything. I mean, I'm getting the label, which means that there is some output. I wonder if, well, yeah, you would hear that siren. But I'm going to play that back. I'm going to play that back in a bit to see if something that loud does permeate through the mic. Okay, yeah, so we do get, this whole div inside, although I don't want a div in here, but we'll fix that. But there's but there's actually no indication. Like because I've made this, I don't even know how to express this. Because I've made this, because I'm using the slot on the field. Um, there's nowhere to indicate where the actual input goes because everything that you put inside gets overridden. So maybe I can't do this. Maybe this is a bad idea. And then now, even if I did as input, I don't think this will do anything. Okay, it overrides everything, right? Which is also not what we want. So, okay, like if we put something here, blah, 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 blah. So none of this works. So let's try something else. So I will actually undo any of the changes I've made here so I can revisit this a bit closely. And then before I had a slot default, which is really where the field went. And this is now where I'm going to place the field. So I'll just copy the entire field here. I'm going to put this here. And the default slot, I'm actually going to put inside the field. And this time I won't forget to import it. Will this correct it? No, I won't. I still need to do a bunch of work here, so I will have to vbind adders, so I do want to pull adders through and not have them on by default. And I don't necessarily love this because, like, when you're using fat field, you have to have the knowledge that fat field is a wrapper for field, and all the adders are in fact passed in through the field. But I think that's okay. So ID and name, type I could get rid of. These I want, this I get rid of. And now this looks more like this. And this slot here, I want to maybe do something like this, where I can say template, get that in there, say default. And only do the slot if there is actually a default. This, I was just going to say this might cause issues. So seems like there's some issues already, which I need to resolve. I need to define use adders, which I can actually get rid of from here and use here. That's just view, so I could do that. And then I can actually just remove this from here. And now my fields do seem to be coming through, although these might have double the impact because I'm getting wrappers. But let's take a look here. So first name, location, things look good here. To make sure everything is binding, I'm gonna just jump into app.view, and in fab form, I'm gonna pull in through the vslot. I'm gonna pull in values, and then have a pre-object here, and then output values, just so I could see these being populated. So I know everything is hooked up properly. And it seems like it isn't. Either that or these values aren't being passed through. So let me take a look at that quickly. If I have fab form, so I don't have fab form passing in the values. how would I do this? I think this has a V slot. Let's just say form slots. Form params maybe, and I think I can. I can just bind. I think, yeah. So now that I type through, I'm getting these values as I would expect. Okay, all of this seems to be working. Well, I'm not 100% sure how this stuff is working, because it seems like the field is being doubled and maybe it just comes through as one. Cool. So the values are working. Great. And this is great because this is how it should be as well. I'm going to see if the button submit still works. And that stuff still works. Although I'm kind of noticing that there's a little bump there. So it seems like while the width of the button stays the same, the height seems to change, probably because of the size of this icon here. But we'll take a look at that later. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. That space there is bothering me. See that? See how it popped back? That was bugging me. But I don't need to keep this here anymore. Don't need this. Don't need this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and change all these other ones. So fab form, that's good. Fab field, that's my main wrapper. Fab input is the one that I changed first. Fab label is not a field. Fab button is also not a field. Fab select is a field. So we won't be using this and this, I believe. Get rid of that. And now I don't have a select here, so I probably should have tested this out. So the as will now go here. These are all defaults. This will go here. Bind is default. And now this, okay, yeah, I gotta test this, right? Now this is super interesting because this stuff here will become the default. And this will really test out whether that default is working. But I don't have any test cases. So let me go to app view and maybe I can take this. And right before here, I can say old color. And then just do fab select here. Just give me an old color. Looks good. If I submit, I should see old color being orange. Change that, submit, and okay, so that is great and functional. And I think we have simplified this quite a bit, actually. Okay. Next is this toggle, which we did a few things here, so this will be interesting. These go away. This gets transferred up here. vbind adders we don't need to do because we'll inherit everything. vslot, which means that I gotta pass in the incoming slots all the way through, just like I did with fab form and the form param stuff. But this will need to move here. This goes away. This becomes the default. Doesn't like the label. So I think it wants me to do something like this. And I think I might have missed this in the select. That's fine. I'm seeing some other errors. Let me just refresh. Code is missing for element if for node. Let's just make sure everything is sensible here. Get rid of that. I'm not using adders anymore. No field. It doesn't like my use of default. Is it the slots that it doesn't like? I'm actually not sure exactly what's wrong here. Mixed vslot usage on both the component and nested template. Yes. Is there really though? Yes. When there are multiple named slots, all slots should use template, which we are doing here. We did it. We did what you asked. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this was a waste of time. This still isn't like what I'm saying. Okay, so let me actually look at this in a bit more serious manner. Is it that there is no slot? And I might have to do some vmodel work here, but I believe all that should transfer. Is read but never used. That's not true. It is used right here. And here. I guess I really wasn't expecting this. So let's see. Declared but never read. It is read. Am I not? Am I? Something not closed here properly, or? Yeah, I'm not. Like, I'm not seeing it. That's fine. Let me go ahead and try and fix. So I got checkbox and multi-select to do next. Just fine. If I'm not able to figure this out, I might undo this and come back to it later. But for now, let's quickly take a look at fab field. And let's start passing down those slots through field. So field is here. It does have slots. And I can say field params. I don't know if params is the right word, but here we are. I have to pass this in regardless, I think. Can you use a vslot if you don't have? Yeah, you can, because you could have a v4, for example, and still use the value of the slot. Like you could have a la and then field right here, for example. So vbind field params. I don't think this will fix it, but why is this happening? I think it's vslot, not vslots. Like, what is happening? Um, this error that was earlier happening on fab toggle, I'm pretty sure, is now happening on here on fab field. So there's some pattern that I'm using that it doesn't like. If I just get rid of this for now. Now it doesn't like it in toggle. And in toggle, you know, this is just for experimentation here, just to see if something weird is emerging. So here we have a label. Now, theoretically, this would be like a slots, like this would have its own slotsing. Let's just say. Ah, okay, got it. So I can't just be like willy-nilly slot here. I have to do this. That makes sense. So let me just define this wrapper. And I do have to do this. I have to say, okay, default equals, and the slots now are here. So if I say field, remove that from there. And now I don't get that error anymore. And if that makes, because there's multiple slots here, field is only being passed in to the default one through here. And that distinction needs to be very clear. So if I undo here, because this is the default one, I will need to say now field, field params, and pop it in for the default one here. And now everything should work properly. And the one I was testing was toggle. It seems like it didn't work. And let me bring that pre back from app. I wonder if I could just undo. No, I cannot. Values and then pre values. So now I have the values up there. This is, oh, it's light. It wasn't terms of, I was looking at the wrong thing. But it still doesn't work. So light, it does work. It does work. Light, it does work. What am I doing? Light is true. I was looking at terms and condition. I was like, oh, it doesn't work. But it does. Terms and condition also work. So everything is working here. Just checking everything. Not everything. Okay, great. All of this is working. Amazing. And I had two more things, checkbox and multi-select, to do. So here, no longer using these, get rid of this, don't need this, and don't need these. I do need type, don't need these, don't need this. This will go up here, this disappears, and voila. So now here I should expect this to still work properly, and it does. Okay, great. That's interesting. If it's not checked, should there be a false value? Huh, I don't know. but we'll think about that later. At the very least, it is functional here. And honestly, like, just looking at this now, I don't even think I need to do these. Like, for example, here, for this, if I don't define any of these, and I get rid of these, what does this feel like now? Okay, so it doesn't work at all. Well, that's because, okay, when I refresh, it does. So that works because I'm thinking, look, hey, there's all this stuff here, but these are just passed in. So I could just get rid of that. And get rid of this. That's nicer. Okay, let me leave this like this. Let me go to multi-select, get that work done, and then I'll revisit all the components again to see if we could just get rid of most of these fields. All right. See, again, I mean, could probably get rid of these. But maybe in documentation, this stuff won't be exported. So maybe it'd be nice if we could export this. So for example, we could say, hey, base field props. And then that'd be these. And then here we maybe do something like base field props and then I believe, okay, it doesn't show them all, but you know, you get the idea. It didn't like any of this. This that's what this is, right? This is an interface to a literal type or an interface or literal type. Okay, hold on. Can I just do this? Yes, but I can't do this, which is, can do this? No. Huh. Okay, well, we'll look at that later. Okay, so here I'm going to get rid of field and use utters. Get rid of that. We want to inherit everything, and then let's see, all these can go away. This can go away. We'll want to use a default thing and everything here, but so let's actually do that now. Template default, and then we'll get the slots from here. And that'll become that. So this goes away, and this becomes part of this, and this goes away. Is that right? I actually need vModel, and now this goes away. So now my multi-select should still function properly. Let me just refresh. There we go. We got orange and we got green, and we got orange and we got red. So all that is working fine alongside these other components. I've gotten rid of quite a bit of code here, which is nice. And then again, I don't know if I should do this, but I can do this, right? And if I refresh here, all this is still good. Like color is coming through and all those values are coming through. So let's say like I am going to do this right now. I am going to get rid of that because it cleans things up a bit. And if I need to be a bit more explicit, I could do that as well, but later. Okay, so let's take a look at everything that's changed. In app, I did this vslots things to get the values, which I'll get rid of right now. Added a fab select, so that's good. Fab checkbox, got rid of damn near everything. I am going to just keep this empty script tag because I want to. And everything just went up to fab field, and there's no default. Here, this is fab field, so we've added use adders and everything. And because this is a sub component, we tried to add this up as a top level component, and that didn't work. But this is just fine. Like, this is fantastic. And this is exactly what I was hoping for. So I'm good here. Fab form, the change we made was the v binding of the param, so I could use those dynamic values. And then here, let's get rid of name, label, and help. Those are all default. And then name, and then label, help, name. I can get rid of all of those. And I'm good here still. This is in fab input, and I am good here. And then, and then the rest is just getting rid of the field. Look at that. This is the one we changed just recently. That looks good to me. The only thing I want to look at again is just the end of this line where I'm using vmodel here and I'm using vmodel over here. And then here, name, label, help. Get rid of those, and then get rid of label, help, name here. And again, condensing this code for the select. And things being just good and functional. And because there are no slots, it's not asking me about, it's not showing me an underline error here. And here, again, I don't have to define any props. For this to be functional. Except now, this is the first one where I'm getting errors because I am accessing name. So, and because if I pull it in from prop, I will have to pass it here. So That's something we need to be aware of. Okay. Refactor field into fab field. And now our template code is looking a lot more streamlined, which is fantastic. And if I'm adding more things like slider or text area, then I don't have to worry about these things. Maybe I really want to try this, but I feel like this will end up taking me like a good part of the hour. So maybe I could Google it and just take a look, and then maybe I can try to figure out what's happening. So let's see. Yeah. View 3. Create. No. How to. Maybe it's like, okay, yeah, building a component library. How to build. Log rocket coming through here. How to create and publish. Yeah. You know, before I go into these, I have a thought, and I kind of want to take a shot at this. So we were using the view for multi-select, which is in and of itself a component library in a sense, or it is, if not a full library, it is a component. And then view form might have others. And I'm curious whether I could just look at the code from these and take a look. Resetter. I wonder what they actually have in their starter. So they have viewform/viewform, which is just a packages viewform here, which is empty. Okay, they're asking us to download the latest viewform and place it in here. That's interesting. If I go on viewform, I guess it's like a paid library. And it is. Huh. These are all the components they provide. Well, what are the components they provide? Okay, yeah, like it's a form library. Interesting, because that's what we're building, and we're using some of their open source components for that. Okay, back to where we were. How do they get it working? How do they? So the main file is dist multiselect.js. Multiselect.view seems to be the main source file. They have a Babel config, that's fine. So where does the I guess I was expecting to see like a roll up. Yes, maybe it's in the build folder. Okay, there we go. And then is there like some kind of indication here? Ah, there you go. So build view 3 will do this process. And that's what we want to look at. And here it says the input is source, the view file straight up, and the dist is this. And there's two of them. One is ESM and one is an IFI. Probably because maybe in usage they want us to be able to plug and play and go. Although they don't have that. Here. Okay, so before going into the blog post, maybe I want to see if I can mess about. Okay. So my build is going to be something like this, and I probably need to pull in some of this stuff. Do I have to mess with Babel and everything? Huh. Okay. So I have a main.ts, which is like the actual app that I could play around with. And then I suppose I could have, let's say, an index.ts, which all it does is like import and export components. So let me pick like just two components that I can export. And theoretically, I don't even have to like export fat field. Let me just do, import fab input from okay, and let's do fab checkbox, right? And I can say export. And fab checkbox. And maybe rollup can throw together whatever's in this file. So I'm not referencing one view file directly. And so this might become dist index.js, my main thing, I suppose. And I don't know if I need to do like all this stuff here, which with module and on PKG. I don't know if I will need to do this here with like style and themes. Like I might have to export because I'm using view form styles or my own styles from Tailwind. And I don't know how that all of that will play out. Let me just see for now, for today, if I just can't get like Rollup compiling the app. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud because I have a build, and that builds out a Vue app, so in a dist folder no less, which means I don't really want to duplicate that. So, and I still want it so that I can at least do some tests and previews here. Or maybe I don't want it, right? Like I think dev should pop up my Vite app, but in theory, I don't need any of that to um, get my app going. So that's fine. That's fine. Um, yeah, like I might just change this. Okay. Dist index.js, and then this can be something like and I'll just have one rollup file, which is rollup.config.js. I wonder if they use TypeScript here. They don't, and like this is probably why they wanted Babel is but we're using TypeScript, and so we don't really, or we're using like Vite, and so I wonder how that would work. And maybe here I can jump into the blog posts that I was trying to avoid to see if they have some suggestions. And they have like a completely different suggestion. So a whole bunch of initialization and this and that. Maybe I could take a look at this library. And it might just simplify things. Huh. Well, that's tremendously convenient. I wonder if they have like, hey, add this to the already existing thing. If they don't, then perhaps I could just create a new one and then try and steal from it. Okay, let's try it out. I want to see if this indicates like, okay, yeah. So in the prompts, we have to indicate whether it's view 2 or view 3. Okay. View 3. It's a library. It's fab. It's fab. I'm using TypeScript, so this is nice. Like it's gonna give me these things. And just complete, your files have been generated. There's a sample. And so here I can go into fab, get installed, and then serve. And I'm really curious to take a look at their package file and all that as well here, which I should be able to do while this is happening. but this might finish up pretty quickly anyway. So, okay, there's like a whole bunch of export methods like SSR, ESM, min. Just the types, that's great. Serve, so they use view CLI, which we're not using. And for build, they're using rollup straight up. And so I might be able to copy some of that stuff. And I wonder how they're doing TypeScript. There you go. Let's do yarn serve. And I guess they have these exportable components. Let's take a look at the code. So this is our view app that's serve is serving. And it has just this component. And I don't see them uncomment import and local components registration if library is not registered globally, which means the library is registered globally. So import fab and then use fab. It's probably here. And by using use, it's I guess that's fine. I'm not thrilled about that. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to use view use. Like I want to be able to export them one by one or import them one by one. I don't really want to do like this wholesale thing here. Okay, let's see. Take a look at fab sample. And this, I guess, is this whole thing, right? These multiple buttons. This is the whole component. Okay. And if we take a look at Babel, that's the TypeScript stuff that's happening. I wonder if view3 vite build component library. Okay. I guess they've removed them. using Vite to publish a view component. Even if it's not multiple components, we might be able to figure out how to do it still. So they're doing this export default as V button. And then I guess they just duplicated this. I was like a bit confused to see why this is happening twice, but it seems like it's probably just an error. So they're adding Tailwind here. And let's see if they export it the same way. Configure Vite for library mode. So I guess we don't have to, we could just do it library mode. Build.lib, take a look at the docs to see other build modes. What if I want both build modes? You'd likely spend most of the time on a test demo page that imports your actual library. With Vite, you could use your index for that. Great. And when it's time to bundle your library, use the bundle.lib config option. Entries blah, lib main.js. And then name, and then file name for, I suppose, the make sure to externalize depths that shouldn't be bundled into your library. So provide global variables using the UMD build. And then main.js is like this, which is what I have in my index. But I wonder if this just can't be TS instead of JS. Let's see. Well, I guess I'm a bit confused here because this example doesn't have any of like any of the view stuff. It doesn't have any of the like plugins and all that. The build is just this. Okay, well, whatever. Let's see what happens. And this is all assuming JavaScript instead of TypeScript. But let's see, that should be fine. Oops. So this will be source, this will be index, this will be JS, this will be fab components, and so this could be fab components. That's fine. I probably don't have node, but this ought to still work. In the index.ts that I put together, does look a lot like this. It looks exactly like this. Okay, let's try and build this. Let me see if this still works. refresh this. Yeah, I mean, this all seems to work just fine. And then let me see if yarn build still works. Ah, yeah, of course. I changed this up, which I don't need to now that Vite might do everything for us. Building for production. And it seems like it has. Huh. I wonder if the fact that we're using vvalidate will cause any issues. Whether, you know, like whether will we export vvalidate as is, or will everything come together? Let's take a look. Wow. Yeah, so this does export vvalidate. And should it? I don't think so. I think we should tell people, hey, you want to use this library, you're going to need vvalidate as an import, just like Vue is. That's pretty cool for now. And then I wonder if I can just import like an app.vue, for example, instead of importing those components directly, can I import them from index? Which, I mean, that makes sense. That's not a big deal. That's like a nothing thing. Although, I mean, in my case here, I'm using auto import, so I don't import from anything. That's fine. You know, that's interesting. Like we read up on a bunch of things, but it seems like Vite makes this super simple for us. And I would have to add in vvalidate here. Can I create a new Vite app and then use this there? Let me quickly see that I can. Okay, project is fab test. It's Vue, it's Vue.ts. It's just yarn. And while that's happening over here, I'm going to see if I can do yarn link. Ah, okay. So the name is coming from so I should be able to go into package, fab components, go yarn link, and then here in my new Vue thing, I can say yarn okay, yarn link. It does want me to do this. Fab components, yarn package. I don't see this here, so if I did yarn add fab components, that doesn't work. In the projects where you want to use this package, and it will be used instead, it says. So how to use yarn link. I haven't used it in a while. So I don't have to have it in my package file. This creates a symlink, it says. So I should be able to see a symlink here in node modules to fab components, and I do. But I don't have to define like fab components in my package .json. Well, I guess let's see what happens. So now here, if I go into app view and I say import fab input from, and the styles won't quite be there because I didn't export any styles. But if I see somewhat of a field coming through, then that's pretty amazing. I could say fab components here. This is cannot find module, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I will define it. Yarn build, I expect to see it fail because we don't have fab components. I don't think this matters. What I mean is, it matters, but I don't think the values in here matters as long as some package is defined. And it's just going to grab it from... No, that's a lie. I would have surely thought that having done this, this would have known where to grab it from. Maybe I have to do yarn. No. So doing something like this. I did do that. I did do that. Yarn-v, just to make sure the version's still one. What? That seems unlikely to be the problem. So let's just go into our package here. That can't be it. Yeah, if I'm not entirely able to figure this out, I might still call it a night and be happy with, because there's more time now than I was hoping to go for, but let me just give it a few more minutes. Or its corresponding type declarations. So let's do a few of the things that they want us to here. I will keep this. It's not this index, it's fab dash components. So that's good. I don't know if that would have been the reason, but see? Nope. Now it is asking me to do this thing here where it's like, hey, your types. But it is getting it, could not find a declaration. So now that's the problem. It's no longer whatever the issue was before. And I do feel it was different. Couldn't find the module. So now it can find the module, but we're not getting any help on the types. So now the problem here is also different. It's a types issue. So let's see Vite library mode types script. This might be exactly what we want. Okay, button component. Vite config, very similar to ours. Well, exactly like ours. We do need to do this down in our main lib here. So, I mean, unrelated to the issues we're getting. No indication of CSS here. So outdoor dist and declaration true. And then we're going to have to move dist source to dist types. Okay. So we're gonna want to build first, and then have the declaration file only, and then set a place for this. Okay, so let's try and do that. Well, I'm curious how here There's only one indication of CSS in the whole file. In our disk file, I don't have a CSS file here. So I don't presume any CSS files will be generated. Huh. Okay, oh well. Okay, just some sneezing there and I had to mute the mic. And I don't know if that got caught on camera or not, or on mic or not. Okay. Right, declarations. So there's no outdir here in our TS config. There's no declaration either. We do have two TS configs. One is for node. And I guess this one is like the core file. And this is in addition. Okay. Outdir dist. And then let's declaration is true. And now they want us to change our build, although here very quickly I do want to do yarn build and see if there's any impact at all. No. So we're gonna have to go to our package and go into the build. There's a no emit. So this probably just does some checking up front. Then it does the build. And now we do want to emit. And then we want to copy this source to this types. Or move this source to this types. And now once we build again, if everything goes successfully, I expect to see the types in the dist folder. And that's failed because it probably didn't find any dist source. Because it seems like everything is top level. Yeah, it seems like everything is top level. Cool. So I should be able to not say any of this. Remove that, yarn build up here, and while that's happening, I'm gonna go here and define my types alongside here. And here I could just say index.d.ts. Right? Because that index is now just that. And now if I go here and do yarn build on the library that's importing the stuff, I'm back to cannot find. Well, just a few seconds ago we were up here. Could have sworn I felt like we got closer. Ah, we were just 1 comma apart. Okay, new errors. Default is not exported. By app.view. Ah, this is our app.view. Okay, great. So this will now be this. Because now we have this, it's this, and now I should be able to. It's funny, I'm building even before I'm kind of running things. Okay, so this builds. If I were to do a yarn dev, let's say port is 5055. Oops, not yarn, localhost 5055. Cool. So apart from the styles, this works. There should be a way here for me to indicate styles. So let me just think about it. Read library mode, CSS. This is probably not what I want. This is probably what I want. And let's take a look how they play read config. They don't at all. That's remarkable. Because everything is exported as JS. Lovely. Ah, okay. So I need to import it in my main.ts. Index.ts. Something like that. And after this runs, we do get a style.css here. Which I wonder if we're just able to import. Into our main.ts here. This is fab test, right? Okay. So I should be able to say import fab-components / style. I guess I'm gonna have to say dis dot. style.css. I don't know if it likes this. Let's just go back here and take a quick look. So I do have a style.css here. And if I let's see what they say to do in your package. Let's see if anyone else has. Any ideas? Read.config. Explain the formats here. Okay, yeah. We need to do declaration map, but that's over there. We also do this alias business. We did not do this. So let us do this. And that's what I was looking for. Under exports. CSS, since we're including CSS files. Okay. And I guess this does work because the parent is centering everything, which is why things are centered here. But if they weren't, then, but we are getting our, we are getting things working otherwise. So if I was to go into this library here, let me just restart it clean. Refresh, so that looks good. And then in fab test, let's get rid of the center. And oops. Let's just, all around padding for everyone. Okay, so yeah, that works. Cool. That is very exciting. Let me see if I did fab input or fab field now. Would I have to compile this? So I guess I gotta build. And there's the change. Cool. Cool. I wonder if there's like I guess I could have a watch and have it auto build if I'm, modifying both libraries at the same time. That is super cool. Okay, that's what I wanted to accomplish here. So that means I can add a checkbox there. It's exportable. And then, whenever I pick up the next time, I'll probably add a few more components. I will add text area because the default basic component. And then maybe we could play with Storybook. I feel like we've built form components, I'll just wait until we're done this. And now we can probably play with Storybook because like we have this exportable library, which is super cool. Vite simplified a lot of this stuff, which is really remarkable. I didn't have to play with rollup. I thought I was gonna have to jump into all of that, but because Vite uses rollup, we're able to pass that config through Vite's lib kind of export functionality. Super cool. Had no idea, but now I know. All right, awesome.